right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Ever since the Knicks got knocked off a couple of days ago, the talk has been about one, the roster, and two, who should be the next coach, or who should coach the Knicks in general. A lot of blame always goes around when teams get beat, and the Knicks, of course, are no exception. They blew that game. They blew game one, which essentially set them up for losing that series. You know, essentially these NBA playoffs, a lot of times teams can't seem to get it together when they go on the road. This is why you play 7 games with the hopes that maybe the road team can actually win a game. But when you have a home team up by 20 points with less than 3 minutes left, you assume that this game is over, right? Well, the Knicks blew it. And not only did they blow game one, they blew game two. So you go on the road down 0-2, and you're the higher seed. You managed to get one on the road. You managed to get one when you came back home. And then the game 6, when you needed to get, you just ran out of gas. And this is where the criticism of Tom Thibodeau comes in, is that he doesn't like to go to his bench a whole lot. Well, in Thibs' defense, I can understand where he's coming from to a certain degree. I've had teams before where I didn't have very much of a bench, and I had to keep my starters on the floor as long as possible, and I had to try to keep them as fresh as I could for as long as possible, because I knew I didn't have very much behind them. But we're talking apples to bowling balls in this case, because I had a high school team. And, you know, high school in general, what you get coming through those doors is what you got. You can't go out and recruit, or technically you're not supposed to go out and recruit, but I'm not going to get into that. We all know that high school is not like high school was when I was in school. These teams are being recruited 3-4 years in advance. So they already know where they're going to school. They know where they're going to play. And it's an unfair advantage for people who have to deal with kids who just come through the door like they used to. Well, because of that, I didn't have anywhere to go a lot of times. And if you get into foul trouble, that creates a problem. And you have to go into the bench and you put players out there to stay longer than you want them to play. And it's a problem on that particular level. But in Thibodeau's case, they put these rosters together, and these guys are all professional players. So you would think that you would go deeper in the bench, or you would have less of a consternation of sorts if you had to go to the bench. Well, the criticism of him, they say that he has the players to do what they want to do as a group, but he refuses to play them. He only wants to play his starters all the time. Like I said, I can understand that, but if you got the players that you can put in and still be okay, then you don't have that problem. And in game 6, it looked like the Knicks, to me, they just pretty much ran out of gas. And because they ran out of gas, and it ended up hurting them in the end. All right, I got an idiot over here, the fifth loco. He's sitting in his mama's basement, hiding, drinking cocoa or whatever he's doing. And you think he's really affecting me, but he's not. And I'm not going to worry about him. So he can go kick rocks. But anyway, so I understand the criticism of Thibodeau. And at the same time, I understand the point that the fans are trying to make. But should they fire him? I don't think so. I think they should bring him back, and they need to make some adjustments with the roster. And I think the guys on the roster needs to make some adjustment to their games. Now, if Brunson is on Thibodeau's team and he knows that the coach likes to play the starters a whole lot, I think it would behoove Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns and anybody else who have little in-shape issues to get out there and work on the game. Just like Luka Doncic, he needs to get in shape. He needs to learn how to play better defense, or try to play better defense. Brunson needs to get in better shape. So does Towns. If these guys can get in better shape, they don't run out of gas. when you need these guys the most. Now, on the flip side of that, Thibodeau needs to go to his bench more and trust them a little bit more. But if I'm a player that I know the likelihood of this guy taking me out of the game, then I'm going to get myself in better shape. Now, one other point I want to make about that. Everybody's making a big deal about all the minutes these guys play. Well, if you're a professional athlete, I think that you're being paid to get out there and play. And I don't want to hear nothing about you saving up to not overdo it, just in case you get into a situation where you might need to be fresh. Well, I can understand if you got a 20, 30-point lead with 3 or 4 minutes left, yeah, take your starters out. Don't put them back in. But what you need to do is accept the fact that you are a let me see what I want here. You have to accept the fact that you are a professional athlete, and because of that, you need to accept the fact that you're an athlete, and what you need to do is get on out there and play no matter what somebody is saying. All right, Steve Harvey, James Tour got thrown in the blender. All right, I'm not going to digress to that. All right, the other thing, Aaron Rodgers. You know, Pittsburgh has been trying to court this guy now for 3 years, essentially. Before he went to the Jets, they tried to get him, but he felt like he was a better fit with New York. And you know how that turned out. He got injured the first game with the Jets, didn't play that first year. He came back last year, had a pretty decent season, throwing for almost 4,000 yards. And the team kind of digressed overall because they didn't have that defense that they thought they would have. Besides that, he's out the door now. They went and got Justin Fields from Pittsburgh, and Russell Wilson ended up going to the Giants. So now, in almost a complete swap here, they're looking to get the Jets quarterback to come into Pittsburgh. But Rodgers, he's one of those loopy kind of guys, and he's out doing what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, but yet he's got Pittsburgh thinking that he's going to come in. Now, his actions on one end shows that he wants to play with Pittsburgh, but he won't come in and make it official. And Pittsburgh is in limbo, and if this guy here keeps stringing us on, we got to figure out what we're going to do with this quarterback position. I told you guys several weeks ago that Pittsburgh should have just laid down the law and said, look here, man, either you're going to play with us or you're not. Cam Hayward, when this talk first came out a month or so ago, he came out and said the same thing. Now, he kind of backtracked. I'm not backtracking. You should say what it is, man. Either you're going to play with us or you're not. We need to get this team together so we can start bonding and building toward getting to the playoffs because we don't have time to wait. All right, that's all you, Ryan Clifton. How you doing, man? I think Rodgers should retire. I think in his mind he has retired because, you know, you heard the talk about him signing a one-day contract with Green Bay so he could retire. When I heard that, if I'm Pittsburgh, I wouldn't want nothing else to do with this guy. I need to move on. And I think Pittsburgh, in the back of their mind, already has a emergency plan to do just that. And I think that plan is going to consist of bringing in Kirk Cousins off the Atlanta team. You know, Cousins signed that big free agent deal going to Atlanta before last year. And then the Falcons surprised everybody by drafting Michael Penix in the first round. Well, it's kind of like what Cleveland did this year. You know, you got a veteran quarterback in there. In this case, they had 3 veteran quarterbacks. You know, Deshaun Watson, he can't play this year because of his injury. Flacco, and you got Kenny Pickett. Those are veteran quarterbacks. And then you draft 2 rookie quarterbacks. And you got a logjam in your quarterback room. Same kind of thing that you have in Atlanta. Penix, he was an older quarterback, so it wasn't like he was going to be a particular or a traditional rookie. And because of that, you expected him to progress a little faster. And evidently he did. He came in at the end of the last year and apparently has taken over the job and relegated Cousins to the bench. Well, that means that somebody can swoop in and steal him. And I think Pittsburgh is a good spot for Cousins to land. He doesn't have the splashy name that Rodgers has. He doesn't have a championship, but he can stand in there and make some plays for you and make it interesting. And as Pittsburgh, all they really need is a consistent quarterback and tighten the defense up, and they right back where they've been in times of yore. So I think Cousins might be a better fit than Rodgers. And like Ryan says, maybe he should quit. Tomlin always has a plan. Well, you better tighten up because he's been slipping lately. He doesn't have a track record of developing quarterbacks. And I think this is a make-or-break season for him in Pittsburgh. If we don't get it done this year, I don't think he's coming back next year. Yeah, Clifton, he got hurt in a game. He tore his ACL or something. I think he tore both of them. So he's in bad shape right now. And he signed that big contract. And they don't just want to get rid of him because they have to eat all that money. So he's essentially going to be on IR. So you bring in Joe Flacco when he gets hurt. He's still there. They re-signed him again. And then you got Kenny Pickett they picked up off the Eagles. Well, he been there. No, he hasn't been there that long. He's been there about, 3 years? He was in Houston. And he was going through all that trouble. He was suspended. The owner stuck with him. And then when he finally got in, he comes in and he gets hurt. So, of course, the fans, they aren't happy with him. I mean, sometimes the fans forget that this is a brutal game. And you can get bent up at any time. And that's what happened to him. And he's been a good sport about it. He gives back some of his money so the team can sign some players. So I think Watson, he can still play. It's just that he's got hound dogs on his trail right now. And he has to get rid of these demons. I think he's through that massage thing that he had to go through. And I wonder if this is some kind of oncoming storm that's taking place. Because you know that guy down in Baltimore, the kicker, Justin Tucker, the supposedly the highest rated percentage-wise kicker they ever had in the NFL, they released him because of all of this massage trouble he's in. So he's been accused just like Watson was. But funny thing about it is the uproar for Tucker is nowhere near as the uproar they came after Deshaun Watson with. So I'm a little puzzled by that. But still, he's going to have to get through that. And when he comes back healthy enough, he's going to get cut. And somebody's going to pick him up as a low pick. And he's going to continue to play NFL football because he's going to still be able to compete. And you won't hear the last of Deshaun Watson anytime soon. All right. Dagger Production says the Steelers don't sign a quarterback. They could take a step back on salary and let Will Howard to do his thing to sign someone next offseason. Well, Will Howard, I don't think they would go with him. You know, they went back with what's the guy they call him, Duck. He was there before. I can't think of his name right now. But he was there before they re-signed him. So he's probably going to be the likely starter right now if they don't pick up a veteran quarterback. They can play with that guy. He's not the best option that you want to have, but to manage a game, he can do that. As long as he's not throwing critical interceptions, they'll be fine. But again, I think Pittsburgh laid an egg with the quarterback position like they've been doing. I think what they should have done was sign young Justin Fields and roll with him and get rid of Russell Wilson and go with the youth movement because everybody else is going to have a running quarterback. You got to have him. And Fields would have fit right into that. He can throw well enough for you. He seems to be getting better. Nobody's saying that, but you can see that the Jets feel that way because they put the money into him. So it'll be interesting to see just what he does. And to have both quarterbacks go from last year's team and not really have a solid plan about what you were going to do. You're putting all your eggs in one basket with this Rodgers guy. And I wonder if he's going to let you down. And it appears to be that's what he's going to do. Fred Wright, what's going on, man? You got 2 more days, man. Everybody talking about the Pacers are going to put something on you. I'm not quite so sure about that, but what they're saying is that they need to get out and run. They need to get out and run and keep the pace fast to keep OKC from setting up in that half-court defense. Well, I'm of the mind this: if you can do it to me, I can do it to you. They always talk about what OKC, I'm not OKC, but Indiana's going to pick up full court pressure and all of that. Well, the Thunder can do the same thing. You want to run? They can run too. I think the difference is matchups. They talk about how great of a job Nembhard did on Brunson. Well, Brunson's what, 6'2"? Yeah, he can do that against a guy closer to his size, but when you start talking about a 6'7" point guard in Gilgeous, that's a tough matchup for Nembhard. They're going to have to find somebody else to put on him. You can't put your star player on there, Siakam. He's a better size matchup there, but I just don't see anybody matching up to that 6'7" guard, man. And he's going to be able to get his shots off. And the question is he going to be consistent the way he's been? And I think if Gilgeous is getting his shots and he's hitting those shots, and those role players are contributing just enough, I just don't see how the Pacers, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble, if you ask me. Sister Rose, how you doing? And you got Killer Rob. We talking crazy about that. Oklahoma City made it. What a great week ahead. Well, now that you're there, what you going to do? That's the question. You don't just want to get to the finals. You want to do something when you get in the finals. So, and I think that's the problem with some teams. I referenced TCU. Everybody wants to get to the championship round. But when you get to the championship round, what are you going to do when you get there? And I think TCU, what happened to them, even though they was a great team, they were worthy to be there. But when you look around and you hadn't been there before and you playing against a team that's been there a whole lot, they know what they expect. They coming in hitting on all the cylinders, and you starstruck. And you see what happened when you get starstruck. Georgia obliterated them. They weren't as bad as what it looked like. But when you don't have your mind 100% where it's supposed to be, then this is the result you get. And I wonder if Indiana is going to be starstruck to be in the finals. And OKC, they hadn't been there either. But OKC's been the best team all year long. They've overcome all the obstacles. They've shot down all the challenges. And, expectation is often greater than better opponents. And they were able to overcome all of that. So I don't think that's going to be an issue with OKC. But Indiana, to my mind, is a different story. And their inconsistency from the offensive standpoint from certain players, that's what bothers me about Indiana. And I hope this does not turn into a whitewash in these finals games. And this is where basketball gets worse than football. At least in football, I only have to be out there one game. I don't have to come back for 3-4 more. But if you get embarrassed in game one and you come back in game two and get embarrassed, that's not something that you want to keep doing. If you're going to kill me, go ahead and kill me once, man. All right. I don't know what this guy talking about. Sister Rose, big ups from Oklahoma City. That's Fred Wright back at your Oklahoma, Frederick W. Peace upon you, my friend, prayers and blessings. And I asked the question, will the Knicks fire Tom Thibodeau? Most of you are saying no. I don't think they should fire him either. I think the players should take accountability and get in better shape for themselves next year. And I think Thibodeau needs to accept some changes he needs to make. Like he could use his roster a little better. And I think they might need to make a few changes roster-wise. I'm not excited about some of the players he got on there. A lot of them I like. Josh Hart, my kind of player, but he gets kind of wild. Pepane Cruz says Pascal Siakam, God play for Indiana's. Yeah, he plays for the Pacers. He's a pretty good piece for the Pacers. And he's inconsistent just like the rest of them. So I think if you can find some consistency there with the offense, then they can make this a very interesting series. But Dagger says, I think OKC in 5. If Indiana wants to win the championship, they need a real shot creator and scorer. Okay, let's see. You don't think that Siakam is a good enough shot creator? I think he can fit that bill. And you have Halliburton, who's a traditional point guard to me. He's going to try to spread the ball around, and if he can get to the rim, he's going to take it. And he can hit the timely shot. So he's creating enough shots. The question is, will they be consistent with it? And I just don't think they have the consistency to be a champion right now. If they stay together, then they're going to get better. All right. Everyone can be replaced if they're not performing right. I assume you're talking about the Knicks. Yeah, you're right. They can be replaced. But I don't think that I didn't see anything wrong with the way he was coaching that team. He could have used his bench a little bit more. And I noticed a funny thing. When they took Brunson out for those long periods, they actually held serve. And sometimes they even had the lead. So he could have went to his bench a little more than what he did. And I think what he's going to do is going to go back and look at this series on tape. And he's going to figure out some things that he could have done better. And he's going to make those adjustments. So that's going to be what he needs to do moving forward. And like I said, Towns, Brunson, and some of those other guys need to get themselves in better shape. Now, Carlisle also showed you with Robinson. He's a killer on the offensive boards, and he's not really a major offensive threat. So what they were doing, they were fouling, kind of like that hack-a-shack thing, and he's going to have to go work on his free throws, and he's going to have to work on his offensive game. If he can do that, then you're not going to be able to do all that hack-a-shack stuff that you pulled this time. He wasn't ready for it, but next time, he'll be ready for it. Eldridge Primer said I used to like Pittsburgh, but they missed their blessing when they passed on Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if it's a blessing or not. I mean, Shedeur has to prove himself. He has the potential to be a good player. But I think that because you got a black coach in Tomlin, people are expecting him to pick up the black quarterback. I don't know if that's fair for Tomlin, but he's also not the other only black coach in the NFL. You got the guy down in Atlanta. He's also the same way. So, I mean, are you obligated to pick certain type of players because they look like you? So Shedeur is going to have the opportunity to prove himself. And I think going to Cleveland in the circumstances that played out for him is the perfect opportunity for him to show us if he's truly an NFL quarterback. I mentioned this before in videos. It put the spotlight on everybody in Cleveland. You telling me as a head coach that you can make the right decisions, and you say that Dylan Gabriel is a better quarterback than Sanders, so we're going to take him in the 3rd round. That's what you telling me as a head coach. You telling me that you can make the right decisions for this organization. Okay. Stefanski, if Sanders goes in and outplays Gabriel, it's going to make you look real bad because you didn't want this guy. The owner made you take him, and he outplays the guy that you want. So now that lets the owner know that maybe I got the wrong guy running my team. And on the flip side of that, Gabriel, nobody's saying much about him, but he's also in the conversation. He has a chance to prove that he's better than Sanders, or he's worthy enough to be drafted higher than Sanders. And Sanders, again, gets to compete to win this job. So everybody's under the spotlight here. We're going to see how this thing shakes out. Now, I was on this thing weeks ago when it first came out. I heard a guy yesterday, I think a guy named Freddie Coleman. He said what I said weeks ago about the potential of the Browns coaches being made to look bad if Sanders were to outplay him. I said it weeks ago. I just heard it from somebody on ESPN radio say the same thing. All right. I wish Kansas City had a pro basketball team. Everybody in Tulsa loved Kansas City football. You know, they actually had a pro basketball team in Kansas City. I forget what they were. I think it was not the Royals, but it was the Kansas City. No, I can't think of the name. But if you look at some of the histories of these basketball teams, you'll find that they came from other places. Like some of you would be surprised to know that the Clippers, the San Diego Clippers, moved to LA, well, the LA Clippers now, but they actually came from Buffalo. They were the Buffalo Braves. Look that up. So teams move around all the time. You wonder why the Lakers have a name like the Lakers when they don't have a whole lot of lakes in L.A.? Well, they came from Minnesota. They were the Minneapolis Lakers. And the Utah Jazz were the original New Orleans Jazz. They folded and they moved to Utah. So these teams move around a lot. And if you just follow the names, you can figure out where they came from. But at this moment, it escapes me where Kansas City had their team. Was it the Kings? Might have been. Okay, then you know they're in Sacramento now. All right. All right, Kansas City Kings, we had Nate Archibald. Oh, that's a long time ago, man. I remember old Nate. But yeah, I don't think that the Knicks should fire Thibodeau. Most of you, barely most of you are saying that they shouldn't fire him. And I think that would be a good thing. But he's going to have to up his game up. And if they start out slow or struggle, he might be an early casualty starting next season. All right. I got to get up out of here, man. Last day of work for me because summer break, man. No more kids until August. All right, before I go, no, because he was a 2-10 player and slipped all the way to 21. Pittsburgh will have an opportunity to be able to get a quarterback again unless they have a terrible season. Well, New Orleans is still in play here. You know, Derek Carr decided to retire, and that left a hole there. So Sanders or Gabriel, he could wind up in New Orleans. Something's going to happen with the Browns quarterback room. We already know that Deshaun Watson is going to be on IR. They're probably going to keep Pickett and Flacco. That's my choice. They're going to keep those two, and whoever wins the competition between Sanders and Gabriel is going to have the third spot. Now, my thought was that the guy that lost that competition was going to be on the practice squad. However, when you go to be on the practice squad, they have to cut you from the team. They have to wait a small period of time before they can resign you to the practice squad. While that's going on, other teams have an opportunity to do it, to pick you up. So I think what's going to happen, whoever loses that competition, going to get picked up before the Browns are able to put them on the practice squad. Said that weeks ago now. Keep an eye on it. And just because you hear these guys on the radio, that doesn't mean they the only ones think of stuff. And oftentimes they be a lot late with that because they distracted by other things. I'm way ahead of them and moved on to something else. So that's my thought on that. All right, Fred Wright say I'm from Tulsa, but moved to Oklahoma City. So, oh, he's talking to Sister Rose, okay. All right. And Darryl Dawkins broke the backboard there in KC. Well, I remember him breaking the backboard, but I didn't know he was in Kansas City when he did that. But anyway, I appreciate you guys hollering at me. If there's some breaking news, I'll come back on later on today. If not, I catch you guys in the morning. And always fun to chop it up with you guys. And all you new people, I see Sister Rose here. And a couple other people to talk to. Preparing Cruz. Fred Wright, of course. Eldridge Primus. I appreciate you guys chiming in with me, man. But I got to go punch this clock for one more day. Don't have much to do, but part of the contract. So after that, I got some other ventures I'm working on. So you might just catch me out there on the road this summer because I'm going to be on the move. So anyway, again, have a great day wherever you are. And until next time, I'm out. I got to go to work, man. Peace. Keep an eye on them Steelers, man. Aaron Rodgers, he tripping. And Steelers let him trip. So if I'm Rodgers, I'll trip.